In Paraguay, polling stations open in Sunday's general elections. Over 4.7 citizens are called to elect their new representatives. In France, thousands rallied to condemn the government's immigration reform. And the Arab League announced that it will hold a foreign ministers' meeting in Jordan to discuss the possible readmission of Syria. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Paraguay, the Minister of the Superior Court of Electoral Justice made official the beginning of Election Day and urged citizens to vote. The official highlighted that the elections are an opportunity to remember that they are united by the same flag and made a call to make these elections a true civic party. Jorge Borgarin, president of the Electoral Tribunal, mentioned that 99% of the tables in all the centers of the country are already enabled for the beginning of the electoral day, guaranteeing the adequate operation of each one of the machines. The same text, he expressed that the commitment of the Superior Tribunal of the Electoral Justice to guarantee the security and the smooth development of the electoral processes. President Mario Abdo Benitez voted this Sunday early in the morning at the Republic of Chile school in the nation's capital. The head of state exercised his right to vote at 7 a.m. local time at the polling station number 1. Benitez was accompanied by the Minister of the Interior, Federico Gonzalez. While casting his ballot, the president expressed the need to the media that it is a very important day for democracy, and he expects it to be a peaceful day.
Today is an important day for Paraguayan democracy. The people have to go out to speak. I hope it will be a calm, peaceful day that Paraguay will show before the world. I hope that there are many foreign journalists. Paraguay has been watched by the whole world. I believe we have taken great steps to build stability. Democracy has strengthened with time. May today be a day. I reiterate where the Paraguayan nation comes so strengthened with an electoral process, as always, calm and respectful. May the people come out to speak with their vote, and may the greatest victory in this electoral contest be the Paraguayan nation.
Paraguayan Interior Minister Federico Gonzalez reported that all polling centers are accompanied by the National Police in coordination with the military forces and the electoral justice system.
Yes, as you saw, the president started this. He already gave his vote, and we are confident that everything will go well. The voting stations are being covered and accompanied by the national police, also in coordination with the military forces and the electoral justice. So everything is on schedule. We have great faith and confidence. Once again, the Paraguayan people will give an example of great civic maturity, and together with all of you, we will demonstrate all that we have advanced in this. It will be an exemplary election day.
The people of Paraguay will choose on Sunday at the polls the immediate future of the country. If the proposal for change of Concertación Nacional finally arrives, or if the Colorado Party, with almost 76 years in power, continues to perpetuate itself. More than 4.7 million Paraguayans summoned to vote will have 13 different alternatives to decide for: a candidate for president and another for vice president. The polls point to the dispute between the doubles of Efraín Alegre and Soledad Núñez of Concertación Nacional para un Nuevo Paraguay, and Santiago Peña and Pedro Aliana for Asociación Nacional Republicana Partido Colorado. Paraguayans will also select 45 senators, 80 deputies, 17 governors, and local authorities. In Paraguay, there is no second round, so the candidate with the most votes wins. And according to the schedule, the president-elect will take office on August 15, 2023, and will leave office in August 2028 without the possibility of re-election. Whoever is elected will replace the current president, Mario Abdo Benitez, and Vice President Hugo Velázquez of the PC, who have been in office since August 15, 2018. Bolivia strengthened its cooperation agenda with Brazil as President Luis Arce reiterates the path of economic growth. The Bolivian Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, Freddy Mamani, and the Secretary General of Itamaraty in Brazil, Laura do Rocha, met on Friday in Brasilia to review the main topics of the bilateral agenda. The meeting addressed issues related to trade, physical integration and border cooperation, the energy sector, the fight against transnational crimes, and defense. The parties also reviewed issues related to the multilateral agenda, highlighting the prospects for cooperation in South America and the community of Latin American and Caribbean states. Bolivian President Luis Arce, in the honor session of the Yapacani Municipal Council for its 65th anniversary, reiterated that in spite of the adverse international context, the reconstruction of his country's economy will continue to advance. In recent years, Brazil has seen an increasing number of applications in the food sector, which has raised concerns about how this affects workers' rights. Our correspondent, Bram Mir, brings us more on this topic.
A recent study by IPEA shows that there are over 370,000 app delivery drivers in Brazil. Bicyclists working for platforms like iFood represent a growing group within this sector, and riders and labor activists alike are complaining that they don't seem to have any labor rights at all.
iFood didn't support me at all after my accident. I needed 7 stitches on my head and couldn't work for 15 days. They asked me to send them photos. They didn't talk to me anymore. I had to cover the cost of the medicine, repairs to my bike, and 2 weeks without income.
Brazil's 44-hour workweek was destroyed by the labor reforms enacted after the 2016 coup against Dilma Rousseff. Now, delivery cyclists complain that even working up to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, the maximum allowed by iFood, they often fail to earn minimum wage.
Many of workers today are working in slave-like conditions without any labor rights. So we need to urgently provoke the labor law reforms because we need a protective framework and we need to regulate these apps and force these platforms to start guaranteeing the workers' human rights.
Brian Mir, TeleSUR, Recife.
Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. Colombian authorities recommended the immediate evacuation of communities near the Nevado del Ruiz volcano, which maintains a high risk of eruption. According to the authorities of control and risk management, the preemptive evacuation would be carried out based on a scheme presented by the municipal councils of disaster risk management. This situation occurs in the midst of constant seismic activity associated with the movement of lava in the volcano's interior and its emission of ash. Meanwhile, the Colombian Geological Service continues to monitor the volcano, whose activity level remains at orange alert for risk of eruption, which could be the largest in the last decade. Thousands of people, including many undocumented migrants, marched in Paris and in other French towns protesting against planned changes to the immigration law and evictions from the Indian Ocean island of Mayotte. In the French capital, demonstrators protested against repression, imprisonment, and deportations and advocated for a welcoming migration policy. Demonstrators also agreed that the migration bill, which the government has just postponed until the autumn, is a racist law, which aims to criminalize foreigners and lead to more deportations. Meanwhile, protesters also took aim at Operation Wambushi, being carried out by the authorities on the French Indian Ocean island of Mayotte to send back illegal immigrants, most from neighboring Comoros, currently housed in unsanitary shanty towns. Pope Francis held a Mass on Sunday as part of his third and last day of his visit to Hungary. Tens of thousands of people filled the Kossuth Square, located in the center of Budapest, to witness the open-air mass performed by the Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church. According to the local authorities, some 80,000 people enjoyed this moment, in which many said they were moved by this experience. According to official sources, Pope Francis also has scheduled to deliver his last speech of his trip at a private Catholic university in Budapest in front of academics and cultural workers before leaving the European nation. In Russia, Sebastopol governor said a drone attack was the cause for the huge fire that broke out on Saturday at a fuel depot in city's port. The city governor, Mikhail Razvozhayev, said on Telegram that a fuel reserve was on fire in the Kazakhstan Bay and that according to preliminary information it was caused by a drone strike. The governor said the fire size was around 1,000 square meters and published images of huge clouds of smoke rising into the air. Razvozhayev called on Crimeans to remain calm, and in a later post said nobody was hurt. He also said authorities had the situation under control and there was no threat to civilian infrastructure. Earlier this week, Russia said it had repelled a drone attack on the port. Sebastopol is home to Russia's Black Sea Fleet and has been hit by a series of drone attacks since the Kremlin launched its special operation in Ukraine last year. The governments of Iran and Iraq agreed to strengthen their cooperation in the economic and security fields during a visit to Tehran by Iraqi President Abdelatif Rashid. In a joint press conference, the President of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, described relations with Baghdad as strategic and underlined that although the ties between the two countries are good, they agreed to work to expand and strengthen their relations in accordance with their common interests in the fields of politics, economy, and culture, agreement which he said will benefit the region. Rashid, on the other hand, underlined the importance of the ties between the two countries based on the conviction of the peoples of the two countries and their desire to cooperate in various fields. Iran has great political influence in Iraq by backing important Iraqi Shiite militias. It also has great economic weight as it supplies the neighboring country with electricity and gas despite being under U.S. sanctions since 2019. And Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi slammed on Saturday the United States' presence in the Middle East as he hosted his Iraqi counterpart during wide-ranging talks.
The relationship with Iraq and the countries of the region is based on our common interest. But the Americans are thinking of their own interest, and they're looking for their own interest, not the interest of the Iraqi, Iranian people and the countries of the region.
At least 2 people lost their lives in the Philippines after a collision on Friday between 2 ships off the island of Corregidor. According to the Philippine Coast Guard, the incident involved the Sierra Leone flagship MV Honghai 189 and the Marshall Islands flag tanker MV Petit Soeur. The 2 deceased were part of the 20 people on board the Sierra Leone ship. 3 of them are still missing and 15 were rescued. Meanwhile, the 21 crew members of the tanker were rescued safe and sound. According to the authorities, search and rescue operations continue in the hope of finding those missing. TeleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461 and enjoy Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Arab foreign ministers will gather in Amman, Jordan on Monday to discuss the long-running conflict in Syria and to end Damascus' diplomatic isolation in the region. The upcoming meeting in Amman will bring together from Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia and Syria. In this sense, Jordanian Foreign Ministry spokesman Sinan Mahali said the meeting follows a similar gathering held in Jeddah 2 weeks ago and builds on the contacts that neighboring countries made with the Syrian government. Meanwhile, the diplomats stressed the importance of having an Arab leadership role in efforts to end the crisis in Syria. However, regional opponents to Damascus' reintegration remain, with Qatar calling the idea of Syria returning to the Arab League mere speculation. In Sudan, warplanes on bombing raids drew heavy anti-aircraft fire over Khartoum on Saturday as fierce fighting between the Sudanese army and paramilitaries entered a third week, violating a renewed truce. More than 500 people have been killed since battles erupted on April 15th between the forces of the army chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his number 2, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Both factions' leaders have agreed to multiple truces, but none has effectively taken hold as the number of dead civilians continue to rise and chaos and lawlessness grip Khartoum, a city of 5 million people where many have been cloistered in their homes, lacking food, water, and electricity. Tens of thousands of people have been internally uprooted within Sudan or embarked on arduous trips to neighboring Chad, Egypt, South Sudan, and Ethiopia to flee the battles. Saudi Arabian soldiers welcome Iranian evacuees from Sudan as they step off a ferry which transported some 1,900 people across the Red Sea port from Sudan to the Saudi King Faisal Navy base in Jeddah. Iran and Saudi Arabia agreed to end a 7-year diplomatic rupture on March 10th, and 4 Iranian diplomats were on hand when the ship arrived in Jeddah.
Kingdom of Saudi for full cooperation and their efforts and their cooperation to transfer Iranian from the nationality from the Port Sudan to Jeddah port. And thank you very much for all their efforts and their cooperation. That is a symbol of the consular cooperation between two countries and also, humanitarian cooperation between two countries.
Honestly, never thought we would be coming to Saudi when we're going to be evacuating from there because of our nationality. But, thankfully, they really helped us out. They put their differences aside, they worked together, and they saved lives, basically.
Thousands of Israelis have gathered in central Tel Aviv for the latest weekly protest against the government's judicial reform plans just days before legislators return for a new parliament session. Opponents of the judicial reform bill have kept up demonstrations in the commercial hub and across the country since January, despite Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's putting the controversial reform program on ice a month ago. Israeli society has been deeply split over the proposed legislation, which seeks to weaken the Supreme Court and hand politicians greater influence over the selection of judges. Netanyahu's right-wing administration has argued the proposals are necessary to rebalance power between the judiciary and elected officials, while opponents said the changes represent a threat to democracy. Hundreds gathered in Mali's capital Bamako to call for the UN peacekeeping mission to leave. The protesters, many waving Russian flags, say the UN peacekeepers' decade-long presence is no longer required. The demonstration comes at a time when the Malian army has suffered one of the largest attacks by armed groups in central Mali, and when MINUSMA human rights reports frequently accuse the Malian army of human rights violations. The regime-supported anti-United Nations tensions seem set to continue to rise with presidential elections set for next year, which some may not want to be analyzed too carefully by neutral observers or peacekeepers. Mali, ruled by a military junta since the first coup in 2020, is battling armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State organization with the help of Russian paramilitary forces. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, TeleSURenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.